Hey guys, I'm Becky from Book Bite Reviews, and welcome to my first vlog and review. I was very graciously sent a copy of The Grateful Boys by Francoise DuMaurier for a review, and I decided to go ahead and vlog my experience reading it, and then at the end give you a pretty detailed review of the book. So this entire vlog will just be about The Grateful Boys. I have not started it yet. I'm pretty excited to do so, so let me go ahead and tell you what it's about. In this book, we have 17-year-old Haley, who is part of a multiracial single-parent family who has just moved to Corpus, Georgia. This new town is very, very small, and she would rather be literally anywhere else. That is until she meets him. He's mysterious and perhaps even supernatural. Where Haley is awestruck, her little brother sees a soulless creature of the night. A series of grisly murders have been happening in this town, and this mysterious boy may be the cause of it. The town's first African-American sheriff must issue a curfew to try and protect his citizens, but he is met with some backlash, and there is a growing sense of racial unrest. Haley will find herself caught between her family, the residents of Corpus, and the vampire she's falling in love with. I'm so excited to start this because not only is it diverse, but it's vampires. And it has been a little bit since I have read a vampire romance, so I'm so excited about it. I really, really hope this book is good. There are like no other reviews of it so far, so I'm really taking a chance with this book, but it does sound like something I would like, so I really, really hope that it's good. We will find out together. So tonight my plan is to start this book, and once I do, I will update you guys then. Hey guys, it is Sunday, September 22nd, and I have started The Grateful Boys. I have not read a whole lot. I am currently on page 41, so I'm very much at the beginning of this book, but I do already have a few opinions that I want to share with you. So as of right now, I am a little bit annoyed with reading. This is an advanced reader copy, so it hasn't been fully edited, which I have to keep reminding myself because it's driving me a little bit crazy because there are quite a few mistakes, like words that don't need to be there, or like sentences that don't really make sense just because you need to like just change up like the order of the words, things like that. I can usually just like see past that, but what's really kind of bothering me, and it's not so much an editing issue, it can be an editing issue because I feel like whoever the editor is should be fixing these things for the final draft, but it's more of a writing issue, and that there is a whole lot of telling instead of showing, and we have multiple points of view and they are not broken up into their own separate chapters. There's just one chapter and all the characters get something to say, and then we get the next chapter, and sometimes characters get more than one section of that same chapter. Like, it's just a lot, and there's all of this telling instead of showing, and there's just like all this like word vomit. There's just a whole lot of words in these chapters that don't necessarily need to be there. Like, it's a lot of over explaining, and yeah, I'm just having a little bit of a hard time with it right now. I'm definitely not at a point where I'm going to give up on it. I'm hoping that once we get into like the plot of the book, because right now we're still like getting to know the town and the characters and things like that. I'm hoping once we get into the plot that it will get better, or at least be interesting enough where I can get past those issues. But right now it's just a lot of writing / editing issues at this point, so I'm just trying to get through that bit to see if the book is any good. But those are just my initial thoughts right off the get, but my plan is to try and read some more tonight, so I should have another update for you guys soon to let you guys know how it goes. So wish me luck. Hey guys, it is Friday, September 27th, and I have made a bit more progress with The Grateful Boys. I'm about 30% of the way through the book, and it is getting more interesting. I do think that a lot of the stuff that I'm not liking with the editing, I think that's going to be fixed once this book is edited, fingers crossed, because this is an advanced reader copy, so I am assuming that at some point this book will fall into someone's hands to edit before it is published, but if not, just know that there are quite a few editorial issues, like some sentences are just way too long, some words are not the correct word to use in that sentence, like it's supposed to say will and it says with, kind of thing, just like simple mistakes that an editor would pick up. And there is still quite a lot of telling instead of showing. I have finally gotten to the part where the vampires are getting more involved and it is getting a lot more interesting, which I was really, really hoping for. The only thing in terms of plot that I'm not really liking is that the sheriff has just met with Dr. Price, who is the one who did the autopsy, and their theory of who the person that killed the two people in the beginning is pretty ridiculous. I think that it is a person who has a wolf and a bat as a pet. And like, that's just so ridiculous. So I'm not really liking that. I think that's pretty crazy. And what's even crazier is that the sheriff was like, that's nuts, but all right, I guess that's who we're looking for. Like, they believe it. So that's the only part I'm not really liking. The two vampires that I have met don't seem like the ones to be killing people, so I feel like it's kind of like a Twilight kind of situation where there's good vampires and bad vampires, and maybe it's bad vampires doing this. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, so far it is getting better, so I did want to update you and tell you that I have made some more progress. It's getting better, and my plan is to finish this by this weekend because this review is due next Wednesday. So that's the plan, and I will update you guys as I get farther into it. Hey guys, so it is still Friday, and I just got to the 50% mark. I wanted to update you because we are now getting more into the relationship with the vampires, and I'm just getting a little concerned. So we have two different relationships being featured with the vampires in this book. We have one between Haley, our main character, and one of the vampires, and then we also have Sebastian, who is Haley's younger brother Mason's friend. He now has a relationship with one of the vampires. With Haley, her and Percy are starting to create a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of relationship. It's still pretty early, like he's asked to court her. But with Sebastian, I'm kind of worried that that's what their relationship is going to turn into a romantic relationship, which I'm not concerned because they're both males. I think it'd be really cool to have a gay romance. But what concerns me is that this vampire is 400 years old and Sebastian is like 12. He's in 8th grade. So I'm concerned because, for obvious reasons, right now nothing romantic has happened. The vampire has just asked to be his friend, but it seems like Sebastian may be starting to feel some kind of romantic feelings, maybe. I'm not positive, so we'll have to see how this ends up going, but I'm just a little bit concerned. I don't know if this book is going to stay where vampires are good and can be your boyfriend. I'm worried that it's going to turn into a sinister plot, like this is all just like a false sense of security. And then I'm also concerned about this 12-year-old being with a 400-year-old. A little concerned about that. Like, at least with Haley, I think she's 17, but I don't know. So we will have to see about that, but it is getting interesting. I am going through it pretty quickly now. I'm hoping to get to the 75% mark tomorrow and then finish it up on Sunday. So I will be updating you guys again tomorrow when I read some more, and then I will have my full thoughts for you guys at the end. Hey guys, today it is Monday, September 30th, and I wanted to update you because I will be finishing up The Grateful Boys tonight. So over the weekend, I did read a very large chunk of this book. I only have about 70 pages left, which means I will have all of my final thoughts and review and overall rating for you guys, hopefully either later tonight or tomorrow. Right now, things are still a bit up in the air of how I feel about it. I definitely have to wait until the end of this book to figure out exactly what rating I'm going to give it or how I'm feeling. Things are just a little bit ridiculous right now is the best way to describe it. Basically, the whole town pretty much knows about vampires at this point, but things are still like a little bit weird. I thought it was a bit ridiculous when the police believed that there was a guy who owns a wolf and a bat, and that is who is killing people and animals, but now they believe that it's a vampire. And that just doesn't seem very realistic to me that they would just believe that off the get. I feel like it would be a lot more realistic if somebody, like a civilian, came to them and told them it's a vampire, and that they like investigated and then were just like, holy shit, vampires are real. But it doesn't exactly happen like that, so that's a little bit far-fetched. I am still pretty on the fence with the actual vampires and their relationships themselves. I just feel like, honestly, the relationship kind of reminds me of Harry Potter and Dumbledore, where Dumbledore is like the vampires because he keeps like everything from Harry, and then something happens and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this piece of knowledge. And oh yeah, by the way, I didn't tell you this. And that's like how these vampires are behaving. They very, very slowly give you a little bit of information instead of just like laying it all out there. And it makes me feel like I shouldn't trust them, but they've also have yet to do anything that would make them untrustworthy. So I don't know. I also did find out how you get turned into a vampire. I'm a little like, oh, okay, all right. But I also did get an explanation for our younger character's relationship with the vampire. It turns out that it's kind of like the wolves in Twilight, where you can imprint on somebody, kind of. So they look for somebody that they are a perfect match with based on like somebody they can't stay away from or stop thinking about, and their blood like tastes really, really great to them, kind of thing. So there is like kind of like that imprinting kind of property to finding a mate, but it doesn't always necessarily have to be a sexual relationship. It can also be like a father-son relationship, or like it's a friendship or a parental figure or a romantic relationship. You don't necessarily have to have one type of relationship with somebody to be their match, but it just confuses me because if you're not in a romantic relationship with how you get turned into a vampire, I don't understand how they would be the one to turn their friend or child into a vampire, unless like later on that's what it develops into, kind of like Twilight with imprinting. Jacob is just supposed to be like a parental figure and then a friend and then a boyfriend. So I'm still pretty confused on how all of that is going to work out exactly, just because of what I know of how you get turned into a vampire now. It's confusing. So there is all that. So I'm still kind of like on the fence. I can tell you right now, I know this isn't gonna be a 5-star, but I'm just not sure where exactly it's gonna fall on 4 stars and under. I'm just gonna have to wait until these last 70 pages to figure out how exactly I feel about everything. I feel like we're getting set up for some kind of like twist ending, but we might not. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like wishful thinking that I'm like, okay, I think something much bigger is going to happen by the end and I will enjoy this a lot more. But I will have all my final thoughts, my rating, my review for you very, very soon. Hey guys, today it is Tuesday, October 1st, and last night I finally finished The Grateful Boys. So let's just go ahead and dive into my overall review of this book. I have a lot of thoughts. For one, I will say that I really enjoyed the last 25% of the book the most. I think that that is where our author really, really knew where he was going with this. I think he already knew the ending going into it, and so that was the easy part because I felt like that was the best written part of it. I will say though that there is definitely a pacing issue from beginning to end. The beginning is very slow, very drawn out, and the ending is super duper fast paced. So I will say that that was one critique that I definitely had throughout the book, is that I felt like we had all this information, all these different characters, and it really kind of dragged the story on. It was definitely interesting, which is why I kept going and ended up finishing it. There is a plot point that is brought up in this book that hints that this is going to turn into a series and where the next book will then explore. I'm not 100% sold on that plot point. It's something to do with Haley, and I don't know, I didn't really care for it that much. I felt like it kind of came out of nowhere and it wasn't really sold all the way to me. So I'm not too sure about that. And I will also say I feel like it would have enhance the story a bit more if we didn't have the mom's point of view. I felt like we could have gone away with getting rid of that. I think we also could have gotten away with removing Sebastian. I felt like the relationship he had with Gregorius was important and it definitely added to the story, but I kind of felt like it was just a bit much. We just have so many characters. We had 5 points of view throughout this book, and I just felt like it was a lot. I definitely see why it was added. I did enjoy it, but for sake of the storyline, since we just had so much going on and it was pretty slow paced, to cut out those 2 people, I think would have been okay. I definitely see the importance of having the little brother and having the sheriff, so I think having those 2 with Haley would have been rounded enough where we could have got stuff about Sebastian and about the mom without having their input. I know that we definitely would have lost some stuff from the relationship that Sebastian had with Gregorius if we would have taken him out, but I think it still could have been doable. There also were definitely some parts where it was a little ridiculous. I already mentioned them, where basically the stuff with the police officers, how they just kind of believed everything without really questioning it. I couldn't really get past that. It seemed a little bit too easy. And by the end, the police, I mean, it was the truth of what ended up happening to those people who were killed on the side of the road, but they just like, okay, that's what happened. And I don't know, it just seemed like that part wasn't really the main focus of the story, but it kind of was, since we had the sheriff's point of view throughout the entire book. He had a piece, I think, in every single chapter. That's where it is kind of conflicting for me, because then we should have just cut out the sheriff to begin with if we were going to make it where the crime happening in the city wasn't as important. I did really enjoy Haley and Percival's relationship. I felt like it was very genuine. I did really like that Percy felt a lot younger than Gregorius, and I am one that enjoys more like modern, closer to their age when they turned kind of vampires. I don't really like the old, faraway place, old-timey kind of vampires. I like ones that are more like Edward Cullen, where like they are old, but they act more like today's times. Edward is kind of a bad example because he is still pretty old-fashioned, especially in the first book. But I do like more modern today vampires for sure. So overall, I did enjoy this book. I think it's very interesting, and I think that it definitely has value. I can definitely see people liking this. I think probably majority of the issues I had reading the arc were probably resolved in the final copy, and I definitely suggest you pick this up if you are interested in vampire, romance, crime kind of books. I think the rating I'm going to put on Goodreads is 3 stars. To be honest, it's probably more like a 3.5. I did enjoy it, but it just wasn't amazing to me. It was just all right. I definitely finished it, so it definitely has some good aspects to it because I did not DNF it, which is a pretty big deal to me when it comes to review books. But I will say that overall, I definitely enjoyed my experience. I'm glad that I read it. It definitely has value, like I said, but it just wasn't something that completely blew my mind. So for some people, a 3-star isn't the greatest rating, but for me, I think that is a pretty good rating. 3 stars for me is just something that was good, I would recommend, but not my favorite. I would probably check something out again by this author. I don't think I'm going to continue with the series, but I think if he wrote like a YA contemporary romance, I think I would definitely pick that up because I really enjoyed the romance aspects of this book. I think they were really well executed, and I think it's definitely something that he should think about, because I feel like what kind of knocked this book from a 4-star to a 3-star for me was that when writing vampires, there's a lot of stuff to include, a lot of lore and superstitions and questions about like, what do you eat and how are you created and what's the history. There's a lot to include, and it becomes a little bit of a info dump. So I think with doing this paranormal world where we don't know vampires exist and learn about them, it becomes a whole big thing, where if he would have written a paranormal world where we already know they exist, I think it would have worked out a lot better, to be honest. So I would say those are my 2 suggestions for this author: to either write a YA contemporary romance. I think it would be really well done because his romance was on point in this book, or write a book where everyone is already aware of these paranormals existing, or maybe from the paranormal's point of view. So I think that is everything I have for you guys for this vlog and review. Definitely let me know in the comments if you are planning on picking up this book, and also let me know if you enjoyed this kind of video where instead of me just doing a vlog or just doing a review, combining the two and doing a specialty vlog and review for one book. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you loved it and you want to see more bookish content from me, please hit that subscription button. And if you want to be notified as soon as my videos go live here on YouTube, hit the notification bell. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!